is a special Gray Media broadcast of the 2026 South Carolina GOP gubernatorial debates.
Live from the historic Newberry Opera House in Newberry, South Carolina, this is the Republican race for governor. Good evening and welcome to Gray Media's first in a series of debates in the race to be the 118th governor of South Carolina. I'm Justin Doherty, evening anchor of Fox Carolina News in the Upstate. History is set to be made in this race. For the first time in a decade, the state will have a new governor, and Gray Media is proud to bring you this series of debates that are being broadcast and streaming statewide from the mountains to the coast. Tonight, you'll hear directly from the candidates vying for your vote in the Republican primary on June 9th. And now, let's meet those candidates. State Senator Josh Kimbrell, Congressman Ralph Norman, Attorney General Alan Wilson, and Congresswoman Nancy Mace. Candidates, thank you so much for being here. And joining me tonight are panelists from Gray Media outlets and organizations throughout the state. Judy Gatson, evening anchor from WIS in Columbia. Raphael James, evening anchor from WCSC in Charleston. And Edward Earwood, executive director of the South Carolina Association of Christian Schools. Candidates, we are so thankful you are here with us tonight, and you've been given the rules for this debate where your answers and responses will be timed. And we want voters to know what's not covered here tonight, we do plan to likely cover it in our next debates. So now, let's get underway. You each have 45 seconds for your opening statements, and recent polling and a coin flip decide the order for tonight. So Senator Kimbrell, you're first. You have 45 seconds.
Well, good evening. What a day to have a debate on April Fool's Day. None of us are going to act like fools tonight, but it's good to be with you. I'm a native of South Carolina. I have relatives in this state since 1746, two relatives buried in my district who actually fought in the Revolutionary War, since we're celebrating the 250th this year. South Carolina is a legislatively dominant state, so any governor is going to have to be able to work with the legislature. Not only have I been in the Senate the past 6 years, I worked under the Sanford administration before Argentina, at one point back in the early 2000s. You have two approaches. You can either fight the legislature or work collectively. I have passed major legislation on everything from income tax cuts to property tax reductions as a senator after I sent the last Democrat packing from Spartanburg County. I'm a conservative reformer with results, and I look forward to this debate tonight.
Senator, thank you. Congressman Norman, you have 45 seconds for your opening statement.
Norman, I'm running for Congress to root out the waste, the fraud, the corruption, and the abuse that is rampant at the State House. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not a career politician. I'm a businessman for 40 years. What has happened is that we have allowed Republicans to masquerade as conservatives, and then when they win, they morph it into raging liberals. And folks, we've got to stop that. It's amazing that rhinos that vote now can find money for the roads. They can find money. They cannot find money for roads and bridges. They can find money to give themselves a pay raise. When I'm elected governor, we're going to turn government back over to the ones paying the bills, the taxpayers.
Congressman, thank you. Congresswoman Nancy Mace, you have 45 seconds for your opening statement.
I'm not running for governor for me. I'm running for governor for you. Just as God carried Donald Trump to his presidency, God has carried me through some difficult times as well. And it's time for me to carry South Carolina. Tonight, my guest is Michelle Leitner and her family. Michelle, can you please stand up? Michelle, I met a few weeks ago. I want you to know what I am willing to do for South Carolina residents and citizens. Michelle was stranded in Israel in the conflict when the war broke out. When I heard about her being stranded, I literally got on a plane to go and evacuate her family. Michelle, you and your children at dinner that night helped me renew my faith in God and Jesus Christ and the people of South Carolina. Thank you, and God bless you.
Congresswoman, thank you. Attorney General Alan Wilson, you have 45 seconds for your opening statement.
Good evening. To those of you watching at home, my name is Alan Wilson, and I currently serve as your state attorney general. Tonight is a job interview. The office of governor, it doesn't belong to anybody up here. It belongs to you, the people of South Carolina, and this is a time I am asking you to vote for me and hire me to do this job. The issues that you talk about at your kitchen table with your friends and your family are the same issues I talk about with mine. Issues like affordability, taxes, crime, quality education, and our conservative values. I stand here tonight as a husband, a father, a proven prosecutor, and a combat veteran, and the only person in the race for governor who has defended President Trump and his agenda in a court of law. And I look forward to defending and fighting for you as your governor. Thank you.
Attorney General, thank you. Candidates, thank you so much. We are going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll be having our question portion of tonight's debate, focusing on some of the biggest issues facing the state right now. We'll be right back. And welcome back to Gray Media's special coverage of the race for governor. This is the first in a series of debates in the Republican race to be South Carolina's next governor. Each candidate has been giving their opening statements already here tonight, and now we begin with our questions. Candidates, a reminder, your answers are timed for 45 seconds. You will have time to respond if directly referenced or mentioned by name. So let's begin. You are all Republicans on this stage tonight, and your platforms are similar, but there is some variation in your priorities. So tonight, let's start with this. What do you think is the single biggest issue facing South Carolina right now, and how do you plan to fix it if elected? Senator Kimbrell, you begin. You have 45 seconds.
Affordability is the number one issue, and reducing our tax burden, both income taxes and property taxes. When I first got elected in 2020 and took office in 2021, I introduced an income tax reduction plan that would get us to zero in 13 months. That resulted in a cooperative approach working with Senator Harvey Peeler, the chairman of the Finance Committee, to a $2 billion income tax cut that passed 2 years ago. This year, I was one of the major sponsors of a property tax reduction that would triple the homestead exemption to make sure nobody over time loses their house because they can't pay a property tax bill. I've also introduced legislation this year to bring down the cost of child care. Affordability is number one, growing our economy, and every state in this country that's grown rapidly, Texas, Florida, Tennessee, has done so without an income tax. I'm the only person on the stage to introduce that in the legislature of South Carolina. I will eliminate the income tax.
Senator, thank you. Attorney General Alan Wilson, you have 45 seconds for the same question.
As I've traveled this state, across the state of South Carolina over the last 10 months, I've met hundreds, thousands of South Carolina residents. I met a woman who was in her 40s, raising 2 kids, bought a house a couple of years ago. Now she can no longer afford to live in that house. She actually has to live in an apartment right now. The reason is because the cost of her property taxes have gone up so much. The cost of her utility rates, her energy expenses are gone too high. The insurance to cover that property has gone high. These are because the government has either has wrong policies, bad policies, or the government is not doing enough to bring down the cost of her property taxes, her utility bills, and other expenses. As governor, I will make affordability for families a #1 priority, eliminating the income tax, reducing property taxes, and doging government to get fraud, waste, and abuse out to make it more affordable for families. That's what I will do as governor.
Attorney General, thank you. Congressman Mace, what do you see as the single biggest issue facing the state right now?
The single biggest issue as the #1 fastest growing state in the country right now by population is, of course, affordability and the cost of living. I'm the only candidate for governor on the stage tonight anywhere in the state that has a very detailed plan to eliminate the state income tax in just a handful of years by freezing the general fund at 2023 to 2024 levels, or $11.6 billion. Every dollar over that would be returned as a permanent tax cut. This year alone, with the excess in the general fund revenue, I could cut your taxes, your state income tax, by 47%. All of us up here believe in suspending the gas tax in a time of war as well. And the one thing I want to add too is we cannot allow data centers for consumers or South Carolina residents to pay for a single dime of energy costs for data centers that are coming up in the state of South Carolina. Too unaffordable.
Congressman, thank you. Congressman Ralph Norman, same question. You have 45 seconds.
The problem we have is, as I mentioned earlier, fraud, abuse, and corruption. Term limits is the only way to get some of these career politicians out. What are the main issues? We have neglected our roads and our bridges, which are falling apart. Our judicial system, and no one else up here is going to talk about it. The way we select judges is to let trial lawyers select them. It's letting referees asking Clemson and Carolina to choose their own referees. It makes no sense. Our electrical grid, we're not ready for growth, folks. The fact that we're $9 billion in debt, Santee Cooper, we got to fix the basics before we can solve our other problems that we have in this state.
Congressman, thank you. Candidates, thank you. Now we turn to our panelists, Judy Gasson with WIS.
Candidates, thank you for being here. My question is on behalf of South Carolinians who are struggling to pay higher gas prices. I know many of you are aware of the fact that lawmakers recently proposed temporarily suspending South Carolina's gas tax, but Republican leadership blocked immediate consideration of that proposal. So the question is this: do you believe that was a mistake? And if you support a suspension, how would you implement it and cover the lost revenue?
Attorney General, you begin. You have 45 seconds.
Absolutely. I was actually the first person standing up here who actually called for the gas tax to be temporarily cut and suspended. I think it should be for 30 to 60 days. We have over $1 billion in the reserve fund to pay for this, but that is just a temporary stopgap. We can do things more long-term. Obviously, encouraging large manufacturers who drain energy on the grid can be incentivized and or required by law to produce their own energy, thereby giving it back to you, the people of South Carolina, to lower your energy rates. We can do other things like lease gas lines and other things along the easements along the interstates to get more power and electricity in. We can cut the sales tax for businesses who are paying sales taxes on the use of their energy. There's so many things we can do in the long term to make it more affordable, and that's what I will do when I'm governor.
Attorney General, thank you. Congresswoman?
All of us agree with suspending the gas tax in time of war. I'm the only candidate up here that actually wrote a proposal or proposed bill to do that. And I would, at 10% within 30 days, if we see an increase during a conflict, then we would remit that back to the businesses, gas stations would remit that back to taxpayers. There's plenty of money. Like I said earlier, the general fund this fiscal year alone is going to have almost $3 billion extra in new money and new revenue because of the massive amount of growth that we're having today. You could cut taxes and save money for a rainy day fund. But in my proposal that I drafted today, this would go on for 180 days, lift the gas tax, and could be renewed by the legislature as needed.
Congresswoman, thank you. Congressman Norman, you have 45 seconds.
It's irresponsible just to say you're going to cut taxes. You've got to do a forensic audit of every agency and tell the people of South Carolina what you're going to have to cut in spending. I'm going to cut your taxes. I was the only one that's rated taxpayer heroes while in Congress, but I will do a forensic audit and I will show the people what we're going to cut. And you know, the fact that we are having our problems with insurance rates, that's a tax. Have you looked at your electricity bill? That's a tax. That's what you have to work across, and that boils back the way we elect judges and the way we not let lawyers continue to do that. We've got to stop that way of doing it because it affects the bottom line that we're dealing with.
Congressman, thank you. Senator Kimbrough, 45 seconds.
Well, thank you. The good thing is I'm in a position right now to do something about it today instead of talking about doing it later. So I co-sponsored a bill with 1 Democrat, 2 Republicans, a bipartisan bill today that would actually suspend the gas tax in South Carolina until we see appreciable reduction in the gas tax or gas prices in our state. I believe we absolutely need to provide relief at the pump, but a long-term solution also matters to be sure that we can improve infrastructure, roads, and bridges without raising taxes, without increasing spending. So I'm also a co-sponsor of a Senate Bill 801 that modernizes the DOT. We bring in public-private partnership to get extra lanes on our roads without raising your taxes, without increasing fees. Over time, we need to reduce gas taxes permanently, not just suspend them now, but I've got a bill now to suspend them now.
Senator, thank you. Now we turn to Raphael James with WCSC in Charleston.
Good evening. South Carolina is a decidedly red state. Republicans have been the majority party in South Carolina for more than 20 years now. According to U.S. News and World Report, South Carolina ranks 43rd in education, 36th in infrastructure, and 41st in public safety. Why should voters expect change under your administration?
Congresswoman Mace, you have 45 seconds.
Yes, thank you, Raphael. Number one, I've actually worked on all of these issues, whether it's voting for the largest tax cut in American history under President Trump last summer and the big, beautiful bill. I've addressed education, school choice. I'm very big on vocational, but I have the record to prove it. So when we're talking about roads and bridges, I delivered $400 million in infrastructure funding via grants to the state of South Carolina just in the last 2 years. When we're talking about education, I'm a product of South Carolina schools having grown up here and being a high school dropout out of Stratford High School in 1995. I know what this system is like and how difficult it can be for students coming through it. And when it comes to public safety, I've been a victim in the system. And so when I talk to families of murder victims or assault victims or domestic violence victims, I know what it's like because I've been there and I'm living that nightmare today.
Congresswoman, thank you. Congressman Ralph Norman, you have 45 seconds.
I will have the leanest budget, I assume, since Carol Campbell. And I will use the way we will bring the legislature on to major in the major things. We've been majoring in the minor things. And as he's mentioned, education suffered, our infrastructure suffered. There's no reason for that. I will use the power of the veto. I will use the line item veto. But more importantly, I will go to every city and every county and make the case for why we need structural change all over this state. And that's not hard for me to do. And I'll put it back in the hands of we the people. And that hasn't been done in a long time. And all of it will be to make sure that we're spending money where it should be. And it has not been that way. And the legislature has failed the state in that.
Congressman, thank you. Senator Kimbrough, 45 seconds.
Well, the reason we've had those numbers is because, frankly, we didn't have enough Republicans in the state Senate. We had too many rhinos until 2020. So we have a functional Republican majority now. Every one of those numbers has improved in the last 5 years. I'm not saying South Carolina's perfect. We got a lot of work to do, which is why we're on this stage tonight. But whenever I beat the last Democratic incumbent from Spartanburg County in 2020, we flipped 2 other seats from Democrat to Republican. Since then, we've moved further along the road towards universal school choice and giving every mom and dad a chance to pick where their kid goes to school and ensuring that they succeed. We've reduced taxes by the largest margins in modern South Carolina history, and all of those metrics you mentioned, sir, have improved now that we have a Republican majority that works. We need more Republicans, not less. I want the state to be redder, not purple.
Senator, thank you. Attorney General, 45 seconds.
Thank you so much for the question. First off, Wallet Hub and U-Haul rank South Carolina one of the #1 destinations for people to move. Yes, Raphael's right. We do have a lot of problems, but those problems shouldn't be pinned on the Republican Party. Those problems should be pinned on how we have our government organized. It needs to be restructured and reformed. Our government runs about 30 years behind the private sector in other states. We're using outdated, outmoded ways of tracking how we spend money, implementing how we do permit processes. It's because the legislature has too much power relative to the executive branch of government. How we elect judges is too much controlled by the legislative branch of government. That needs to be shared equally with the executive branch of government. Folks at home, you have parity of power between the three branches. The government will be able to better serve you, and that's what we're going to do when I'm governor of South Carolina.
Candidates, thank you. We now turn to Edward Earwood.
Earlier this session, the South Carolina legislature rejected the idea of bringing casino gambling to South Carolina. However, debate continues on legalizing online sports betting in our state. If you are elected the next governor, will you oppose and/or veto any legislation that seeks to expand our current lottery games to include casinos, online sports betting, or other commercial or fixed bet gambling? Why or why not?
Mr. Earwood, thank you. Congressman Ralph Norman, you have 45 seconds.
I will oppose the casinos, and you need to find out who's giving money to the different candidates on this stage that have taken money from the gambling industry. I will not do that. And it's a vice that when you get casino gambling that's coming in, that wants to come in here, and I hear it was 5 votes short in the House, you get child trafficking, you get sex trafficking, you get all types of abuse. I will be opposed to that, and I will fight it. Not just in word, but I will go out and sell why it's bad. I will get law enforcement involved because they will tell you the downside of having gambling in this state. So I'm opposed to it.
Congressman, thank you. Senator Kimbrough, 45 seconds.
Look, I don't believe South Carolina should be Atlantic City, and I've actually not voted in favor of expanding where everybody can gamble online. But you have to also understand there's going to be limited opportunities in certain economically disadvantaged areas that might benefit from a resort like Bristol, Virginia has. I do not want South Carolina to be a gambling destination. I do not support being able to pull out your phone and go gamble right now. But I think every single opportunity for economic development along the I-95 corridor, where there is no opportunity right now or jobs right now, should not be discarded if we do it properly. We have to make sure there's guardrails around it. We do not need casinos in South Carolina all over the state, and I do not want to become Atlantic City or Las Vegas Strip.
Senator, thank you. Attorney General, 45 seconds.
Thank you. Now, the technology, does it exist to stop online gaming? People can VPN around it. The internet's everywhere. So that is a question that we would have to look into and that I would be open to having that conversation. But when it comes to brick and mortar casinos, I've traveled this state. I've talked extensively with law enforcement leaders. I've talked extensively with the faith community. They have grave concerns about brick and mortar casinos coming here because we have seen in other states that it brings criminal elements, human trafficking, drug trafficking, other illicit types of crimes that occur. And whatever revenue you generate on the front side could be offset by what you pay on the backside. I could never be against the faith community and the law enforcement community when it comes to this, and I won't be against them on this issue either. So yes, it might be helpful to some people, but I think it would be detrimental to our state as a whole to have brick and mortar casinos here.
Attorney General, thank you. Congressman Wynn.
I'll take it a step further. People are already online betting. I mean, you can go onto Polymarket or Kalshi, or you can bet on anything. You can bet on, I would guess, who won the debate tonight, right? And so it's already here. I would want to review any legislation, regulations. I'd want to know what the legislature says. We are a republic, and they're representative of their constituencies. I'd even be open to doing a referendum. What do the people of South Carolina want? If it is a 50-50 issue, then what does the majority of people or residents in our state, what would they want, either online or brick and mortar, and hear those options versus being, one person, one say. I'd want to have everyone to have a say because it is a controversial issue in some communities where they would never want it. And so I think that's important to listen to your constituencies.
Congresswoman, thank you. Judy Gadsden.
If you were governor right now and received a request for military assistance regarding the war in Iran, would you authorize deployment of South Carolina military personnel?
Senator Kimbrough, you're first. You have 45 seconds.
Absolutely. I believe that Iran presents one of the most clear and present dangers to the security of the United States and to our state. Think about a country that believes that if they bring about a day of maximum fire, that they're going to bring about the coming of the Islamic Savior. These people hate Christians, they hate the Israeli state, they hate Jews, they hate the United States. Remember, they don't just call Israel's the little Satan. We're the great Satan. I understand there's short-term pain, which is why we're even talking about suspending the gas tax tonight. But I believe that Iran not having a nuclear weapon and the ability to threaten Israel, and more importantly, the United States, is the right thing for our security long term. The world will be better for it. Gas prices will ultimately be lower for it, and crazy people won't be armed with nuclear weapons. So yes, I would deploy the South Carolina National Guard.
Senator, thank you. Attorney General.
Thank you all so much. I do agree with President Donald Trump that Iran poses an existential crisis to the safety and welfare of the United States, and they mean to wipe us off the face of the earth no matter what we do. But I'm a 30-year combat veteran. I've actually led soldiers in combat and almost lost my life in an IED attack in a convoy and on August 22nd, 2004. This is something that is very, very dear to me, and it is something that really resonates with me. Having served for all these years, I understand what's at stake. What I would say to this is, as governor, I do not want to see boots on the ground, but actually the governor has no authority to stop the federal government from federalizing the National Guard. That is not something that we can legally do. But I would absolutely support South Carolina National Guard remaining in South Carolina and supporting the president at a diplomatic level.
Attorney General, thank you. Congresswoman Mace, you have 45 seconds.
We actually already have troops overseas, and I've been briefed by some of those soldiers because I just got back from overseas in the Middle East. I spent about 10 days overseas when the war broke out, and I will tell you, Attorney General, being under the canopy of missiles and cluster munitions as they're raining down on Jordan and Tel Aviv and Israel gave me a greater appreciation for what our men and women in uniform are doing and serving and sacrifices overseas. Which is why I agree with the Attorney General on boots on the ground. We don't have the authority to do that, but I will tell you, when I was over there, there were thousands of Americans that were stranded. And I put in a request for planes from Joint Base Charleston because we had C-17s on the ground and our pilots were ready to go that wanted to help me evacuate American citizens. So I've been there, been involved, and would do it again. Thank you.
Congressman, thank you. Congressman Norman, you have 45 seconds.
Yes, I do agree with the boots on the ground, and if the president requested it, we would do that. He took out the #1 sponsor of terror. And I also supported the National Guard when it went to Washington and made it a lot safer. It was a haven for crime. And let me tell you my other stances. If the federal government, as an example, if there's another COVID outbreak that comes up, we're not shutting South Carolina down from anywhere from the president. And I was the only person, the congressman, that stood with the frontline doctors. So that's not even a question with me to do.
Congressman, thank you. We turn now to Raphael James.
All right, thank you very much. Another question from U.S. News and World Report, another ranking for South Carolina. This one shows South Carolina ranks 3rd in the nation when it comes to growth. What will you do to bolster infrastructure so that we will be able to handle that growth both now and in the future?
Attorney General, you have 45 seconds.
Hey, you folks at home, are y'all sick and tired of sitting in traffic on the interstate? I am too. You can't put 10 pounds of potatoes in a 5-pound sack. We have to do a better job of growing our infrastructure, our crumbling roads, bridges, but also our energy grid. We can do this in innovative ways. Other states are doing things. For instance, they are using the middle lanes or monetizing that dirt between the interstates by creating express lanes that we can let our friends driving through South Carolina pay for instead of people who are driving to South Carolina. We can create easements that we can charge telecommunication companies and energy companies to charge them for the use of laying their cables along the interstates. We can privatize rest areas and derive revenue from the use of the stores and the gas stations on the sides of the interstate. There are so many things we can do that are innovative that we're not doing now. And we can also reform DOT because it is hemorrhaging taxpayer dollars.
Attorney General, thank you. Congresswoman Mace, you have 45 seconds.
I helped deliver the largest infrastructure grant in South Carolina history last year for the Port of South Carolina. Over the last 2 years, I delivered over $400 million in infrastructure dollars via grants because I have developed a robust grant funding program and grant writer in my own office, and I want to take what I've done and do it statewide. I have expedited permitting for bridges and roads. I recently proposed expediting potholes. If you go to SCDOT's website, if you can find the right page, one of the pages is surprise broken. It goes into a black hole. And so I literally wrote a proposal that would say that SCDOT has to fill the pothole in 10 days or tell you why and put it on the website and list where they are in the progress of it. So it's your tax money, you have the right to know, and you also have the right to have a governor who will deliver for the entire state of South Carolina billions of dollars for the
Congresswoman?
infrastructure needs that we need today.
Congresswoman, thank you very much. Congressman Norman, you have 45 seconds.
I believe in growth, but I believe in quality growth. You don't have just unlimited companies coming into this state. An example of a boondoggle, Scout Motors, $1.3 billion when the nearest bidder was $260 million. In the latest budget, Google, Captain Sam Spitt. This legislature voted $32 billion to pay a developer to not develop property in Kiowa. All that to say, I'm going to play an active role in recruiting quality business, but we've got a heritage to preserve in this state. And if we just let everybody in like it has been happening and give it our money, that's not the role of the state government. We have got to put it into basics, and the roads, our bridges, all are a part of that, and they're abysmal right now.
Congressman, thank you. Senator Kimbrell, 45 seconds.
Back home in Spartanburg County, in Bowling Springs, the area which I live, there was a 450 housing individual homes development put on a farming road. It's a road that's designed for a tractor, and yet you had dozens of cars going back and forth every day. The reason for that is because of the growth. I supported with Senator Tom Davis of Beaufort a bill that's in the legislature right now called concurrency legislation. It preserves private property rights. We ensure that people don't lose the right to develop or use their property as they need. But we're making sure that the growth does not outpace the infrastructure, where the roads, the schools can handle it. Because most important, I think, at least for me, is preserving the character of South Carolina, and I'd rather not pave paradise and put up the parking lots.
Senator, thank you. Turn now to Edward Earwood once again.
School choice is expanding nationwide, including here in South Carolina. In addition to exceptional needs scholarships supported currently by state tax credits, South Carolina provides limited school choice for families and K-12 students. Many of those attend private and/or Christian schools. The recently passed One Big Beautiful Bill allows, for the first time ever, federal school choice. What is your vision for the expansion of school choice throughout South Carolina?
Congresswoman Mace,
Okay.
you begin. You have 45 seconds.
I'm sure all of us up here support universal school choice. That's going to be fought in the courts. What I would like to talk about tonight is our need for more vocational programs. Under Governor DeSantis, he has a beautiful program where there are 2 high school diplomas, one for the kids who are going to college and one for the kids who are not, who are certified in a trade and get their high school diploma and are qualified for a high-paying job when they graduate from high school. Those are the things we need to be focused on while universal school choice is being fought in the courts. The other thing that we can do as a state, and the state legislature can do and has done, is expand the financing and funding for charter schools. I have 2 kids, both went to charter school at some point in their public school system here in South Carolina, and we had wonderful outcomes. Every kid is made different.
Congresswoman, thank you. Congressman Norman, you have 45 seconds.
I have 17 grandchildren, all went to public schools, and I will tell you, it's a war zone. And why should we be 40th and 41st in education? I believe the way you cure that is the dollar should follow the child. You ought to have merit-based pay for teachers. You ought to have standards. If a teacher is not cutting and doing the job, you have a way to replace those teachers. I believe in homeschooling. I believe in public school. I believe in charter schools. But we've got to put the basics in place and standards in place. The ones that are successful have standards that we can bring back teachers that have been out of the school system. And you do that with setting standards and abiding by them.
Congressman, thank you. Senator Kimbrell, you have 45 seconds.
I'm the only person on the stage over the past 4 years who's consistently had to take votes in the South Carolina Senate as it pertains to school choice. I believe in universal school choice for every single child and every single parent. I believe the money should be backpacked with the child. The money's got to go where the kid goes. It shouldn't be that some people want to make it a choice that you're either for public schools or you're for private schools. The #1 state in the country for school choice, where more people go to private schools than any other state through school choice, is Florida. And the public schools are still doing fine. We've got to reject this notion that you're either for public schools or for private schools. I'm for every school option and every parent being in charge of their child's education, and I will support universal school choice as governor.
Senator, thank you. Attorney General, 45 seconds.
First off, I want to say that I have 2 kids in public school right now. My daughter's here tonight, and I want to thank the teachers, all the teachers around South Carolina who are like the teachers my kids have. Thank you for what you do, and to the good teachers out there, we'll continue to fight for you. But here's the thing, every kid has individual educational needs, and we can't stereotype all those kids. Back in the 80s, I had specific individual needs, and those weren't being met by a public school. My parents had to sacrifice to send me to a small Christian school where I could have those needs met while my brothers continued in public school. The reality is, parents, you should have the same right and the same opportunity to give your kid the option to give them the education that best meets their needs. And as governor, I will support that choice for each and every one of you to get your kids the way my parents had to sacrifice to give me the choices that they didn't have at that time. I will do that for you as your next governor.
Attorney General, thank you. We turn now to Judy Gadsden once again.
Candidates, sheriffs, and police chiefs from around our state have expressed concerns about the number of guns from stolen vehicles. The question tonight is, and they say that those guns are often ending up on the streets and used in violent crimes. So the question is, as governor, what laws, if any, would you support to promote secure gun storage?
Congressman Norman, you begin. You have 45 seconds.
First thing I would do is to support secure gun storage is go to the police officer and say, what would you do? What do we need to put into place? The criminals get the guns, and you know it's the ones that use it and get it and continually are released once they incarcerate. Once they're tried, they're released by liberal judges again. It gets back to our judicial system here in South Carolina. But we bring in law enforcement, we get their opinion, and we act on it. But it starts with the judges. It starts with the way we elect them. We, the people, ought to elect our judges and not continue to let trial lawyers elect them.
Congressman, thank you. Senator Kimbrell, you have 45 seconds.
Absolutely, I support making sure that people who steal guns out of cars are going to be criminally prosecuted, and we crack down on that. But I'm never going to support anything that restrains the right of people of South Carolina who are legal, law-abiding citizens to keep and bear arms. Which is why when in the Senate, I have fought for open carry, constitutional carry, and making sure that people have the right to defend themselves. Because at the end of the day, the only thing that stops a bad guy with a gun is a good guy with a gun. So we keep trying to paint this picture that guns are the problem. People who are bad people are the problem, and the people of this state need to have the right to defend themselves, and I will fight to defend the Second Amendment every day as governor of South Carolina.
Senator, thank you. Attorney General.
I've been the chief prosecutor for the state of South Carolina for 15 years now. That's why, because of the efforts of working with local law enforcement, state law enforcement, South Carolina now has the lowest violent crime rates in the last 30 years. We have a long way to go, but working with law enforcement, we have proven that we can go after these criminals. I agree that the Second Amendment should be defended. I've defended the bills that they passed in the General Assembly, both in state court and federal court and at the U.S. Supreme Court. I've been endorsed by 80% of the Republican sheriffs in South Carolina because they recognize there is one person who can protect you from gun violence. The person they trust most to protect you and your family is me. 80% of the Republican sheriffs have endorsed me in this race. I will continue to bring that same type of passion and commitment to keeping you and your family safe as your next governor. Thank you.
Congresswoman Mace, 45 seconds.
First of all, I want to say the government has no right to grab your gun. Number one. And when I like to carry my Sig Sauer P365 in my side holster. Gun violence, the best deterrence to gun violence is actually carrying a gun. And open carry, concealed carry, I don't care how you carry, I support you carrying. And you're right to carry in a responsible manner. But the number one thing we can do, and I authored legislation to do this a few weeks ago, is to impeach liberal judges. Number one. And if you are one of those judges that let off the guy that executed Logan Federico in cold blood just a few miles from here, you go to jail. That's what law and order will look like under a Mace administration.
Congresswoman, thank you. We turn now once again to Rafael James.
President Trump brought in Elon Musk and Doge to eliminate federal waste when it comes to tax dollars. You all, I believe, have expressed Doge-esque aspirations to eliminate some of the waste out of government. What is one specific area you believe there is wasteful spending in South Carolina government, and how would you plan to redirect those funds?
Senator Kimbrell, you have 45 seconds.
Well, I introduced a bill 2 years ago in the South Carolina Senate with a number of colleagues to put forth a DOGE effort in this state to make sure that we actually do go and audit all these state agencies and look where the waste, fraud, and abuse actually is. But another way we've taken serious action in the Senate is I've worked with Chairman Harvey Peeler, who's my neighboring senator in the upstate, the chairman of the Finance Committee, and last year we eliminated all earmarks in the state budget through the South Carolina Senate process. We've got to have greater transparency, not only in terms of how agencies spend money, but how the legislature spends it. And over the past 4 years, we've continued to try and not only reduce taxes, but reduce spending. This year alone in the South Carolina Senate, I've worked closely with colleagues. We were turning $538 million already in tax relief, with more to come. You stop waste, fraud, and abuse by giving money back to the people. Let them spend it themselves instead of us blowing it in Columbia.
So thank you. Attorney General.
Folks, the three most expensive thing that government does is we educate, we medicate, and we incarcerate. The problem is the billions of dollars going to those three sectors, we are hemorrhaging money all over the floor like a leaky car. We can do a better job. We need to use advanced AI, cryptography, blockchain technology to revolutionize South Carolina. We are not a modern state. We are 30 years behind the private sector and probably 15 to 20 years behind our sister states when it comes to technology. We can do a better job of tracking that fraud, waste, and abuse. In fact, last summer, I uncovered the largest Medicaid scam in South Carolina history, $20 million. The reason it was being defrauded, and that's an invisible tax on you at home. The reason was we didn't have the technology or the personnel to catch it at the time. But once we caught it, we held those people accountable.
Attorney General, thank you. Congressman Mace.
In like a 2-year period, the state legislature went from something like $30 million in earmarks to $700 million in earmarks. Under Governor Mace administration, we're not buying sports teams. We're not going to do that. We're not going to waste money. But earmarks would be the first place that I would go to do that. We have to look at regulations. I don't know if you know this, but you need a license to hang wallpaper in the state of South Carolina. These burdens that are on business owners. There's a state committee for dry cleaners. Like, you know, these are things we need to look at to say, where is some of the waste? Where is some of the waste that's happening in government? But SNAP fraud. SNAP fraud is one of the #1 places where South Carolina has fraud that we're going to have to pay the federal government hundreds of millions of dollars to fix if we don't fix it fast in the next 12 to 18 months.
Congresswoman, thank you. Congressman Norman, 45 seconds.
I would eliminate the DOGE Commission will identify a lot of the things, frivolous spending. I'm not going to just let it sit on the shelf. I will act on it. Specifically, the Gummy Bear Museum that sponsored drag queen shows is going to end. The $1 billion that they found last year, and all of a sudden it just got spent with the legislature. No one in the legislature spoke up about that. The $3 million that the Election Commission spent on machines that was unauthorized. And I agree with Nancy on cutting regulations. I would go to the businesses and say, what, if you had to do over again, needs to be cut? Under Norman administration, we're going to watch every dollar, and we're going to watch where it's spent. And I don't care who it steps on. We're going to cut the government and return it back to the people that pay the taxes.
Congressman, thank you. I do want to go ahead and expand on this issue because it's such a focal point for so many campaigns. We'll go ahead and begin over. He said he agreed with you, so we're going to start with Senator Kimbrell. You each have 30 seconds. Let's go and expand on this issue a little bit more. Exactly where would you be able to find some of these funds, cut this wasteful spending, and then redirect it to the benefit of the taxpayers of South Carolina?
Look, I do believe in regulatory reform. I think every agency of government's bloated. It's too big. Ronald Reagan once said the closest thing to eternal life this side of heaven is a government bureaucracy, which is why I've co-sponsored and supported, and I'm on the subcommittee now, of a regulatory reform bill in the Senate. We would make every single regulation be sunset after, they want 7 years, I want 5 years. Every regulation would have to be reviewed and sunset within 5 to 7 years. And for every new regulation any agency of our state government puts forward, they got to repeal 2 of them. You shrink the size of the agencies, you'll shrink the size of the spending, you'll give more freedom to the people of South Carolina and unleash the economic potential of our state by ending government overreach.
All right, Senator, thank you. Senator, thank you. Attorney General, 30 seconds.
Absolutely. First, one point of clarification. I think the $1 billion you were talking about, Ralph, wasn't actually real money that was misspent or dozed. It was a misprint on the Comptroller General's office. But what we need to do is in dozing, you need to use blockchain technology that tracks all that money going down to local school districts, municipalities, counties. We need to use advanced AI technology. And we need to unsilo the Auditor's Office, the Inspector General's Office, State Law Enforcement Division, the State Grand Jury. We need to bring all of these oversight groups together. And we're going to do that through our Families First initiative that Mike Rickenbaugh is going to head up when I'm the governor of South Carolina.
Attorney General, thank you. Congresswoman Mace, we'll get to you in just one moment. Congresswoman, you have 30 seconds. Congresswoman Mace. Congresswoman, you have 30 seconds.
I think he mentioned.
We'll get down to you.
He can't rebut what Alan?
He will soon, yes.
Okay.
He'll be next. Congressman,
I just
go
want to
ahead.
make sure we're following.
Yes.
We're following the rules. Okay. When you asked a question about redirecting money to the government,
Yes.
I would redirect the money to the people. If we find money that's being wasted and it's in excess, we give it right back to you in the form of a permanent tax cut. That's what we do, number one. The Sunset Bill, when Donald Trump was president in his first term, he did an executive order for every new regulation he repealed 2. They ended up repealing 5 or 6 at a time. The state of South Carolina can do way better than that. I say go for 7, 8, 9, or 10 regulations to be repealed if we're going to add one every time.
Congresswoman, thank you. Congressman Norman, you have 30 seconds.
The only thing I'd respond to is whether it was $1 billion, whether it was misprint or not, no one spoke up in government to say this is a problem. We have to get to the bottom of it. They just let it go and didn't report it. That's going to end with the Norman administration.
All right, Congressman, thank you. We're about to wrap up our question portion of tonight, so we want to go ahead and end with this. You were asked prior to this debate by the Republican Party, but we want to ask you here on stage tonight, by a show of hands, will you support the eventual Republican nominee for governor, no matter who it may be? Show of hands. There we go. A moment of unity to end this portion. Candidates, thank you so much.
We did good.
We are going to take a
did
bit of a
great.
short break here, and then when we come back, we'll have your closing statements. But again, thank you so much for discussing some of these issues. Again, this is a series of debates, so we're just getting started when it comes to all these debates we'll be offering throughout the state. So again, candidates, thank you. That does it for our discussion portion of tonight's debate. We'll take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll have your closing statements and your final pitch to voters for the night. We'll be right back. And welcome back. We are set to wrap up our debate here tonight, the first in a series of debates live from the historic Newberry Opera House here in Newberry, South Carolina. And again, this is the first in a series of debates. And so if we did not get to a topic here in this first debate, we plan to likely get to them in the next few debates. Again, we have 3 of these planned before primary day on June 9th, and then we have another planned for a runoff race, if that does happen, here in this Republican primary. So again, thank you so much for joining us, and we are just getting started here in this Republican race for governor. But tonight, we're set to wrap up here in Newberry, and let's begin with our closing statements. Because of the order of polling and the coin flip, Senator Kimbrell, you begin. You have 1 minute and 45 seconds for your closing statement.
Well, I've enjoyed the debate tonight, and didn't we all behave so well, by the way? I mean, everybody was so kind. It's Republican unity. Look, on every major issue that we've talked about tonight, I have led in the South Carolina Senate on that since I defeated the last Democrat in Spartanburg County in 2020. Whether it's reforming the income tax in this state, I introduced a bill in 2022 that would have eliminated it to zero in 13 months. That resulted in a compromise that led to a $2 billion, the largest income tax cut in the history of South Carolina. You have to look at this as a Team South Carolina approach. As I've said throughout the debate tonight, we've had governors in the past who thought bullying the legislature, kind of running them over, was the right approach. And now the current administration is largely like, y'all pass a bill, we'll sign it. Neither one of those is the right approach. Somebody's got to quarterback and lead, but it's got to be bringing everybody together along on the same road. And what I want to do as governor is to build on the successes I've had in the South Carolina Senate. On every one of these major issues, I have been either the primary sponsor or a major co-sponsor. In fact, even as a freshman senator in my first term, I passed a constitutional referendum to prohibit illegals to vote in South Carolina that was on your ballot in 2024 that y'all passed by 85%. That is consensus leadership. We've got to take that same Team South Carolina approach of collaborative leadership. I'm not going to bully the legislature, but I'm going to push them. I've done that even as a senator. Bring them to the governor's mansion every day. Meet with the leadership of the House. Meet with the leadership of the Senate. Find where we can advance conservative reforms and do it. I have been a conservative reformer with results as senator. I will continue to do it as governor, and I would appreciate your support, and visit us at joshforsc.com.
Senator, thank you. Congressman Norman, you have 1 minute and 45 seconds for your closing statement.
First of all, the governor's race is the most important race in South Carolina because we're picking a CEO for the state that you're locking in for 4 years, and I would make the argument 8 years. You can't divorce that person. You can't fire him like you can a coach. You're stuck with him really for 8 years. And I'm the only one that's got a track record of doing what I'm telling you up here. Everybody can talk about it, but it's just you got to have done it, and my track record shows that. And if you hire a coach, you look at his record, what he's done, not what he says he's going to do. So I will actually do all these things. I'm the only one. I'm not a lawyer, as I've said. I'm not a career politician. I'm a businessman. And I will apply the business principles to making this state the greatest state in the country. We've got a legacy to protect. We've got the people here to protect. I'm doing this for future generations. And if we don't correct it now, I'm afraid, and my biggest fear, if we have lackluster, feckless leadership, we're going to end up like California, which is the dregs of society now. I know the people coming to South Carolina, the New Yorks, the Oregons, the Virginia, they're coming here. We got to have strong leadership. We got to restrict South Carolina, not let everybody in, not try to get every company that comes in here. I will go after the BMWs and the big ones, but it's going to be through common sense, through my business experience, not as, and a career politician can't really make those arguments and make the case for why we shouldn't come here. I'm going to protect this state. I'm going to protect the people here, and we're going to put this state on a business agenda like never before.
Congressman, thank you. Congresswoman Mace, you have 1 minute and 45 seconds.
Thank you. Serving South Carolina is the honor of my lifetime. In 1995, in Goose Creek, South Carolina, I dropped out of high school, Stratford High School. And my retired general father, my retired school teacher mother said to me, Nancy, if you're not going to go to school, you have to go to work. And so I took a job at a Waffle House on College Park Road in Ladson. And I learned about the value of hard work. I would eventually get my high school diploma or the equivalent and would go on to the Citadel, where I graduated 26 years ago as the first female from the Corps of Cadets. That is a college where we don't burn the American flag, we salute it. And I've learned so much during that time and having some hard times and facing some challenges and relying on my faith, relying on my family, and relying on my ability to help others. I remember when I was first elected to the State House a number of years ago. And I had a family call me. A mom called. Her daughter needed surgery for her breast cancer, but the insurance company wouldn't cover it. And I said, well, I know a guy. I can't make any promises, but let me make a phone call. I made a phone call, and 3 hours later, the insurance company called me back, and they said they had re-reviewed the woman's file, and they were going to fully cover 100% her breast cancer. I learned then in South Carolina, it is not what you know, it is who you know. And I have delivered for cancer patients. I have gotten people on organ transplant lists. I've gotten veterans appointments at the VA. I have written the tax plan, the only candidate who's written a tax plan to deliver a zero state income tax in less than 5 years. I'm the only one who has delivered the largest infrastructure grant in state history. And I've worked very hard for the state of South Carolina. I would be honored to have your vote. Thank you, and God bless you.
Congresswoman, thank you. Attorney General, you have 1 minute and 45 seconds for a closing statement.
Thank you so much. I would like to thank the debate moderators, the state party, and of course you, the people at home, the people of South Carolina, for giving me the opportunity to share with you little pieces of my vision for our great state. When I'm governor, my #1 goal in every single thing that I do will be to make living in South Carolina more affordable for your family, to make our economy more profitable for your business, and to make our government more accountable to you. I'm a combat veteran who has led soldiers under hostile conditions. I'm a proven prosecutor who has sent countless numbers of violent criminals, child predators, corrupt public officials to prison. As your Attorney General, I have sued the Biden-Obama administration hundreds of times and been involved in legal actions to defend your constitutional rights. I'm the only person up here who actually risked their career defending and protecting President Donald Trump's agenda in a court of law. I'm the only person in this race for governor who has received the endorsement of nearly 80% of all of the Republican sheriffs in the state of South Carolina. They endorse me because they trust me to protect you and your family. As your governor, I will work hard and fight to eliminate the state income tax, reduce your property taxes, doge fraud, waste, abuse, and corruption out of state government, prioritize our infrastructure by fixing our crumbling roads and bridges, and so much more. Folks, I'm asking you for your vote tonight. To those of you who already agreed to support me and want to support me, thank you. To those of you who remain undecided, I'm asking for the opportunity to earn your vote by the June 9th primary. It's been the honor of a lifetime to serve as your Attorney General, and I would be honored to serve as your governor. God bless you all.
Attorney General, thank you. Candidates, thank you so much. Let's go and have one more round of applause for all those candidates on stage here tonight. Thank you. Candidates again, Congresswoman, just about done for this evening here, this first debate, but thank you all for staying here, and thank you so much for joining us on stage here tonight. You can hang right here. We're not done just yet. Not done just yet. Got to say goodbye. Remind people that we'll be back in Charleston on the 21st. So again, to you at home, thank you so much for joining us. Again, this is just the beginning. A series of debates here brought to you by Gray Media and in partnership with the Republican Party for this Republican primary. Our next debate is just weeks away in Charleston on the 21st. And all of this is so you, the voter at home, can be as informed as possible for that June 9th primary here for the Republican Party. On behalf of Gray Media, thank you again. Have a great night. And we'll see you on the 21st in Charleston.